One of the best memories that I have from being a kid is getting an Xbox 360 for Christmas in 2010. This was also the year that Call of Duty Black Ops 1 came out. I would stay up all hours of the night playing the game with my friends, either quickscoping each other in a private lobby or trying to see what round we could make it to on zombies. This was arguably the golden age of FPS gaming, and you could try to say that it was only better because we were constantly playing with our friends and we had no adult responsibilities, but I don't think that's the case. Recently, Activision has been getting a lot of backlash from the FPS community because of the way that they manipulate and lie to their audience. The recent release of Black Ops 6 has been rough to say the least, with player numbers consistently dropping since day one. So in this video, we take a look at Call of Duty's downfall and try to figure out what exactly is happening. To fully understand why everything is happening the way that it is now, we have to take a look into the past. While I was doing research for this video, I found some pretty shocking things. This game has been doomed from the beginning, and this is why. When Infinity Ward was founded in 2002 by Jason West and Vince Zampella, they needed some financial support to help the development of the first Call of Duty. So Activision offered to help them in exchange for a 30% stake in the company. Seems harmless, right? Well, just wait, because it gets worse. After they released the first Call of Duty, it was a major success, and Activision didn't just want one piece of the pie, they wanted the whole damn thing. So they offered to buy out the remaining 70% of Infinity Ward. Thinking it was a good idea, Infinity Ward agreed, and they became a wholly owned subsidiary of Activision, which meant that they were now controlled by Activision. They promised to keep Infinity Ward the way that it was as a development studio, and things would have been okay if they had kept their word, but they didn't. And this is when things really start to get interesting. After the massive success of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, Infinity Ward knew that they were going to need to stay with Activision to distribute their next games. So they began negotiating with them. This seemed like the right move because they are the biggest video game distribution company in the world. But this was actually the biggest mistake they could have ever made. When they made the negotiations with Activision, they promised to deliver Modern Warfare 2 in 2009, but in exchange wanted full creative control over the game and extremely large bonuses. Activision agreed, but only on the terms that should Jason and Vince ever be fired or leave the company, the rights to Call of Duty would fall into the hands of Activision. Almost immediately after the contracts were signed, Activision began looking for reasons to fire Jason and Vince so that they could gain the rights to the franchise. Pretty shady, right? I don't know what it is about this company, man, but there are some slimy ass motherfuckers. I don't know how they've gotten away with this stuff for so long, but after Vince realized what they were trying to do, he and Jason set out to create a studio that was outside of Activision's control. Events leading up to February of 2010 caused Activision to hire a law firm to investigate Infinity Ward. In March of 2010, Vince and Jason were released by Activision for insubordination, which basically means that they were fired for not following orders. This meant that the rights of Call of Duty were now in the hands of Activision. And they also forfeited the bonuses that they had promised Infinity Ward in their contract. So the development team basically delivered an entire game for a fraction of what they were promised in compensation. While I was searching around, I actually found an article written by a former Infinity Ward employee who worked at the studio when Jason and Vince were fired. It is from February of last year, and it's absolutely crazy to me that it has taken this long for the actual truth to come out. And I'm kind of shocked that nobody else has really said anything about this. So I'm just going to read through some of this article here, and you should get an idea of how shady and slimy this company is. It starts off with, "Jason and Vince just got fired," a lead artist shouted as he rode in on one of the many small kick-push scooters that we would typically lay around the studio. He quickly scooted away to some other part of the office space to spread the shocking message. We had a main hallway that spanned most of the studio, branching into group offices and communal areas, which would then branch off into smaller office rooms. Another designer and I were sharing one of these smaller rooms at the time. I just sat there stunned in silence with my eyes wide open. The realization of what was happening started to register. I stood up from my chair and just said, "What the f***? Why?" The only thing clear at that time was that Jason and Vince had been blindsided and fired for insubordination after a series of executive level meetings before Activision's security guards showed up to the studio to make sure that they could not come back inside. Isn't that crazy? They actually got security to haul them out of the studio after they fired them. Like, that's just insane to me. The fact that our respected studio heads, our leaders, had been canned in such a sudden and cold-blooded fashion brought the entire team a collective feeling of anger and a deep sense of unfairness. Jason and Vince had been instrumental in fostering one of the most talented and critically acclaimed development teams in the industry, which created the most popular and successful video game brand and franchise in the history of video games. Many of the team became vocal about quitting in solidarity with them, and this idea was quickly spreading. In an attempt to remove the studio heads while retaining the development team, Activision had stepped on a metaphorical landmine, and they were about to lose nearly half of the entire studio, putting the development of Modern Warfare 3 at risk. There was an emergency company meeting in the kitchen space. A group of top Activision high-ups were already at the studio, ready to steady the ship. The Infinity Ward team piled into the kitchen and glared at the group of executives standing behind the long kitchen island table. One of them tried explaining what was happening, which nobody on the development team bought or cared for. The response was mostly stoic silence. Then a team member asked bluntly if we were going to be paid the bonuses that we had already earned for shipping Modern Warfare 2. Reading the tense vibe in the room, another executive took his turn and tried a different strategy. Paraphrasing, he said, "Guys, if you stay with the studio to make Modern Warfare 3, you will receive your Modern Warfare 2 bonuses, and we will also give everyone a 50% salary increase." He paused slightly before repeating, "That's a 5 and a 0. 50%. The looks on people's faces did not change. If anything, most of the team was feeling even more upset. The executive spoke again. "Look, I get it. I know this is a tough situation, but just take the money and get over it." I specifically remember him telling us to just get over it. On the following day and continuing throughout the several weeks, Infinity Ward team members started to quit one by one and sometimes in small groups. People would walk from room to room of each department and let others know that they were quitting and to say their goodbyes. Approximately 40 developers quit the studio this way. Our total headcount before that was about 100. Activision had inadvertently splintered their flagship studio, which was also one of the best studios of all time. And then there is also a second article that he wrote here. If you guys want to go check it out, I'll leave it linked in the description. But you can just see, they did these guys absolutely dirty, man. Like, Activision f***ed these guys over so hard. And like I said, I can't believe it's taken this long for the actual truth to come out, but this should give you an idea of how shady this company is. Going forward from that, Infinity Ward and Treyarch were given creative control over the games, but Activision had final say over everything. This was definitely not a good thing, but I guess nobody really expected them to run the game into the ground. Jason and Vince's positions were temporarily filled by two Activision executives, and by November of 2010, they had completely hired new management at Infinity Ward. Activision publicly stated that they had gotten over their problems and that they were very happy with the result. Yeah, I bet they were. Bunch of snakes. And you remember how Modern Warfare 3 was co-developed by this random new studio called Sledgehammer Games that no one had ever heard of before? Yeah, that's because Activision stripped Infinity Ward of the founders and they were scrambling to replace them. After that whole fiasco, Jason and Vince went on to form Respawn Entertainment. They made Titanfall and another game that you probably heard of called Apex Legends. After their departure from Infinity Ward, things continued to go downhill. Another executive producer by the name of Mark Rubin left the company in 2015 after a number of legal battles between him and the company for the unpaid bonuses after Jason and Vince were let go. If you don't know who Mark Rubin is, let me fill you in real quick. This guy is arguably one of the best developers of all time, and he worked on every Call of Duty game from Call of Duty 2 to Ghosts. A lot of people say he is the main reason why Modern Warfare 2 from 2009 is so great, because he was involved in a lot of the decision making for that game. Most recently, he made a new game with Ubisoft called X Defiant, which was getting a lot of buzz from the FPS community. But unfortunately, as I was recording this video, the news broke that they're shutting that game down, and the servers are only going to be up until June, which is very disappointing. After nearly 2 years of negotiations in court, Activision finally settled and paid Jason and Vince what they were owed. Now don't get me wrong, I'm definitely glad they got paid, but if Mark Rubin never filed the lawsuits after Jason and Vince left, would Activision ever have even paid them? My guess is probably not. From 2010 to 2015, a large number of other employees, along with the ones that I've already mentioned, left the company because of the situations that were going on. And it hasn't just been the multiplayer experience of the game that has suffered from things like this. Jason Blundell also decided to leave Treyarch in 2020. He was the best zombies developer of all time. I don't think his storytelling skills or his immense creativity will ever be matched by another developer. People are still trying to find an Easter egg that was hidden by him in Black Ops 3 9 years later. I was very upset when I found out that he was leaving Treyarch, because I knew that the zombies experience was never going to be what it was before without him involved. And boy, was I right. Black Ops 6 is the first time zombies has been done by Treyarch without Jason. And it's a fucking dumpster fire. I mean, it doesn't take very long reading some comments online or searching around on YouTube to realize that people are not happy with this new attempt at zombies. So yeah, basically, Call of Duty has been doomed from the beginning, with Activision being a bunch of snakes and acquiring the rights to the game in the most shady way possible. And now it seems like they're pretty much trying to run the game into the ground, with rumors being that they want to quit and move on to something else. But why kill a billion-dollar franchise? That's exactly what I want to find out. Okay, so at this point, you probably think Activision is pretty shady, but just how shady are they? Well, strap in, because what I'm about to say will make you question whether or not this company is even run by real humans. I'll start with the biggest one that everyone has talked about, skill-based matchmaking. If you don't know what skill-based matchmaking is, it's basically when the game manipulates your matchmaking experience based on your skill instead of your connection. If you're a highly skilled player, you will be matched against other highly skilled players, which isn't a bad thing if you're playing with a full team, but if you're playing solo, the game will put very bad players on your team and very good players on the enemy team, so the whole match is basically on your shoulders and you have to do everything in order for your team to win. This is just one example of why it's a bad thing. There's tons of other videos on YouTube talking about this, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. But basically, if you support skill-based matchmaking in video games, you're probably either too young and never fully experienced the games that never had it, or you're just barely average at the game, so you want to protect yourself from getting slammed in a team deathmatch lobby. And if that's the case, then you probably never spent much time on the playground as a kid. I don't think you could ever present me with an argument that convinced me that skill-based matchmaking is a good thing. With that being said, skill-based matchmaking has been in the game since 2014 with Advanced Warfare, but they totally revamped it in 2019 when Warzone came out. Instead of it just being based on the performance of your overall combat record, it was based on your performance during the last 5 games that you played. This means if you're a player that consistently does well, the game will try to make it harder and harder for you every match by putting bad players on your team and MLG champs on the enemy team. And if you're a player who consistently does bad, the game will try to make it easier for you by putting good players on your team to carry you to a win and lower skilled players on the enemy team. It's really a double-edged sword and a broken system that only benefits a small percentage of players. That's just a brief explanation, and like I said, if you want to know more about it, just search around on YouTube. So they've had this matchmaking system in the game for over 5 years, right? Well, it wasn't until last year that they finally spoke out about it publicly. After the community was prying and prying at them for an answer, they finally gave us one. Before they even said anything about it, many content creators and people in the community conducted their own research and found out that there was indeed heavy skill-based matchmaking within the game. It got so big that Activision couldn't ignore it any longer. For a very long time, they did, avoiding the question anytime it was asked by anyone or just straight up not answering it.
Sorry, I was just staring at this bird over there.
When they finally did address it, the whole community saw straight through their lies and did not buy a single word that they said. Here's the statement that they put out about it. We know there is a lot of interest in the matchmaking experience, especially around how skill contributes to how lobbies and matches are put together. Nothing is more important to us than the experience players have with the game, and matchmaking is a big part of that. We've been working on our matchmaking system for well over 10 years, and we continue to spend a ton of time and energy on improving the matchmaking process. That's funny because it's still broken. This involves people working at our Call of Duty studios, our backend services teams at Demonware, and other groups like our Player Insights team. It's a large effort that we've worked on for many years, and our approach combines latency, search time, and skill along with many other factors to try to find the best match experience for you. What a vague statement, like that tells us absolutely nothing. Talking about this topic in detail can be hard, No, it's actually not that hard. All you have to do is tell us how skill-based matchmaking works, but you won't because it's a very manipulative system. And we haven't spent the time to pull together all of our work to share with you our insights and improvements over the many years. What does that even mean? Like, the community has been prying at you for over 5 years for information about this, and you can't put together something that explains what the hell is going on? We're looking forward to doing that in the coming weeks after Season 1 launches, and we'll also make it a part of our ongoing discussions with the community. Sincerely, the Call of Duty team, the biggest f***ing liars in the gaming space. Now, the funny thing about this is, after this statement came out, they have said absolutely nothing about skill-based matchmaking other than this. Absolutely nothing. They said they wanted to make it a part of their ongoing discussions. Well, they lied again. Because after they released this PR lawyer-written statement, they said absolutely nothing else about skill-based matchmaking. And honestly, it's like they've just completely forgotten about it, or they just don't give a shit. And yeah, it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to realize that this was written by a lawyer and they're just beating around the bush and not actually telling us what we want. It's such a vague statement, and they didn't actually explain anything about skill-based matchmaking. And this is what I mean by the community seeing straight through their lies. And that is definitely not the only time that they have lied to us. Year after year, they continue to screw their players over by putting things in the game, then taking them out just for people to ask for it to come back. It's like every year they just completely throw the old ideas out the window and try to reinvent the wheel with a bunch of new shit that people don't ask for. Like, guys, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Taking things out of the game and then putting them back in isn't that bad, but I'm only just scratching the surface here. Activision has been in countless lawsuits involving everything from sexual harassment to workplace misconduct. One incident that occurred in 2022 actually resulted in a woman taking her own life due to severe sexual harassment that she endured while working at Activision. They are the most vile and disgusting company in the video game industry, and we as players need to start fighting back. If we don't, then things like this will become more normal, and companies will think they can get away with anything. Another lie that they have told us is the fact that they have a working anti-cheat. They don't. They have a bare minimum system that will keep a small percentage of hackers off the game just so you keep playing it. It kind of worked when they introduced it in Modern Warfare 2019, but this year it seems to be falling apart. Again, if you take a look around on YouTube, it doesn't take very long to realize that the game is riddled with hackers.
I think we do a backyard barbecue with Nate around now. Maybe we know how to grill?
Trying to go to other people's places.
I have a grill. It's built in.
Oh, I have. Yeah, but do you know how to grill, though?
Do I know how to grill? Yeah, bro. Fucking stick a spatula up your ass and 400.
Sam, it's because I have a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this kid's cheating. No bullshit.
The exclusivity?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's. I'm pretty sure he's walling. He just literally perfectly tracked me to the wall.
Brother, I can't wait. After this game, Tiff's gonna link you guys a clip. You're all gonna watch it. You're gonna let me know what he thinks.
I'm like 90. I'm 99% sure that kid's cheating.
They're both level 1 and they're both 26 and 9.
Oh yeah, no, he's a million% undoubtedly cheating. I just watched another kill cam. He's cheating.
Yeah, he's shooting bodies too.
I want him to
For this Atlanta phase, yeah? Yeah. Do you get that? Billy's cooking, man. Billy's cooking.
One down. 5 enemies.
Hey, bro better get his money back. Is this guy serious, Whips? This guy's actually cheating? You might want to get his money back if he is. So this is, like I said, this is like cut from a theater mode, right? Okay, yeah. Wow, he is cheating. Okay, yeah, this guy's definitely cheating.
Wait, he is. Here's the thing. Ricochet isn't about preventing you from doing it in the first place. It's just the measures after the fact and how quickly it'll ban you after.
Gotta find out. Everybody report him.
I mean, it's going to work, though. Like, the Ricochet, it does work. It's funny, too, because he starts missing as soon as my hitbox thing disappears. Snaps on him. He's like, all right. And it will work. It'll just so happen that the account will magically become completely devoid of any gameplay. Zero activity. I I mean, it's about as blatant as it gets.
Bro, I cannot believe there is not one employee over the thousands that probably work at Activision that can't just sit here and watch. I mean, I know it sounds selfish, bro, but it's the most people across these 4 people playing that are just diving into rank play, just live ban people. Like, you just sit there with a keyboard, copy and paste the names. We're watching the kill cams. You can see it happening. Just start getting rid of them all. Just ban them. And then people will stop doing it. Maybe. Probably not.
Now, I believe this is because they focused most of their resources on creating bundles to sell in the shop, and they put the least amount of money into their anti-cheat. Former Activision employees have also stated that the 3 studios who develop Call of Duty do not want to work together on the issue, which is probably the dumbest thing that I have ever heard. So essentially, they are trying to build a brand new anti-cheat every year, and in return, we get a broken game that doesn't function properly until the next one releases. Another thing that really makes you wonder what the they are doing at Activision is the fact that other games like Fortnite and Apex that currently have more players than Call of Duty have less hackers on them. Of course, there are still some cheaters, but it is far less than what Call of Duty has. Maybe it has to do with the fact that Apex was made by the original creators of Call of Duty, Jason West and Vince Zampella. Seems like they actually know how to make a good game. But still, how can a game like Apex with a substantially smaller dev team create an anti-cheat that actually works, but Activision, who is a $1 trillion company, can't do the same thing? Make it make sense. It's because they are lying to us. They say that they have this super advanced kernel level anti-cheat, but really it's just a broken AI system that bans anyone that gets reported too many times. This is what I mean by Activision constantly telling lies. They say all of these awesome things about their game, but when it comes down to people actually playing it, nothing works properly and it's a complete disaster. The cheating in this game has actually gotten so bad this year that pro players have started to speak out about it.
5 years ago, we saw the world's greatest anti-cheat come into existence with Call of Duty, Warzone, and Modern Warfare 19. And that was Ricochet. I actually have no idea how effective Ricochet has been. They talk about and they brag about the numbers of people they've banned, but at the same time, would it have been more or less effective than an already established anti-cheat? There will always be hackers in these games, always. I can go back to when I played Halo 2 and you had people standbying, or you had people bridging host and hacking, flying around with flying elites shooting tank shots out of battle rifles. And that was only on console, no PC. There will always be cheaters. The goal was to get that number as low as possible, right? But 5 years later, Ricochet still struggles consistently. Ranked Play released 2 days ago in Black Ops 6. And it is so bad. It is so bad. So not only do you get to watch us play against a cheater on Nuketown, after that, I compiled a few clips, quite a few clips, from friends streaming Ranked Play, and you get to see all the hackers they play against, whether it's just wall hacking, aim hacking, or rage hacking, doing spin bot.
But if I get into a ranked game of multiplayer, there's 3 things that are going to happen. One of the 3 things are guaranteed to happen. You're either going to be playing somebody who is blatantly hacking and aim locking or closet walling. Some of these guys are really good at hiding how they cheat. So that's strike 1 for me. There's no authentic experience. The game itself, there is no authenticity behind my experience with the game. The second thing that's going to happen is if they are cheating and they're about to lose the game, then they lag out the server, bro. They DDoS the server. They send a egregious amount of packets on Activision's network, and then it lags out the entire game. Everybody gets sent back to the lobby. Nobody gets SR, so I just wasted 10 minutes of my time. That's strike number 2. And then strike number 3 is I play a game that, all things considered, the players on the other team seem normal, and I feel like I'm about to have a normal Skyline hardpoint. But then I look up left at my telemetry, or whatever the hell you call it. It says I'm on 20 ping, but I've got a half a second delay on my bullets being shot from my gun, and I feel like I'm just getting absolutely pissed on, even though this number is telling me that I have a low ping, a low digit ping, but it feels terrible.
I've never felt this way about Call of Duty or just in general. I haven't been this mad in such a long time. It's 1 a.m. right now. I'm streaming, trying to hit top 250 in ranked, and we're getting hacked on over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, he's doing it.
Oh, he did it. Yeah, that's it for me, fella.
Bro.
I've seen it all.
He died and crashed the server.
Nasty work.
Oh my god, bro.
Nasty work.
We're playing, we kill a hacker, and he crashes the lobby. The amount of frustration I felt, I raged off stream. I couldn't take it anymore. I can't take this game anymore. I can't take it, man. I can't take it. I can't take it. I can't take it, bro. This is the worst launch by far of any Call of Duty. I've been playing COD since Modern Warfare 3. This is the worst launch. Black Ops 6 was good. It was a good launch, good multiplayer. The integration for Warzone, this is the worst I've ever seen Call of Duty at its all-time high. Hackers are worse than Verdansk. They're way worse than Verdansk. The hacking level's at an all-time high. You can't even play the game. You can't even play the game. And it's what? December 17th? That means what? They're all on break. What just... Wait, what?
1999-25.
He's walling. He's walling. Hey, he's walling. He's walling. This is the worst launch by far. MW2's launch wasn't even that. It was actually pretty decent. It was just the base game was bad. With this game, I can't even play it, bro. I can't even play the game.
Just hitting the rocks under, man.
He's hacking. He's hacking. On God. He's one shot. Nice. Bro. No. Without A, getting hacked on, B, if we kill the hackers, they can crash the lobby. What am I even saying? What am I even saying, bro? I mean, this is just genuinely embarrassing, bro. This is embarrassing, man. This is embarrassing. And it's so frustrating because it's like, I do a lot of things behind the scenes as far as like just cool activations with Call of Duty and stuff like that whenever there's something special going on. And I don't know, I can't do any of that. If the game is in the state like this, I can't participate in anything like that. I would love to upload more content and just be more creative, but I truly don't have, I have zero drive. Will I be playing the game in the next couple of days? I'm sure people will say that. I don't know, bro. I don't even know.
And this is absolutely crazy to me because Swag, who has been the literal face of Warzone for the last 4 years and gets paid millions of dollars to promote the game, no longer wants to promote the game. I think that is a real problem. Like, when is Activision going to realize that if they keep going down this path, the game will eventually die? But you know what? I don't think they actually care. Recently, I was watching a video from Blame Truth, and he is actually one of the inspirations behind this video. And he said that Activision doesn't care if they have 100K players or 1 million players. As long as those players are spending enough money in the shop to make the shareholders happy, that's all that matters. They don't care if Swag, Nadeshot, and 10 other streamers stop playing the game. Player numbers will probably decrease a little bit, but Call of Duty is so embedded in gaming culture and has been around for such a long time that people will still play it no matter what. Nadeshot and every other pro player can make 100 videos shitting on the game, but there's still going to be those straight up casual players who work a 9 to 5, get home from work, and boot up their Xbox or PlayStation to play some Black Ops 6 and just relax for the evening. They don't go on YouTube, they don't even know or care about skill-based matchmaking, they just want to play a game and escape reality for a few hours. Those are the people that Activision preys on, and they are the ones who keep the game afloat. Call of Duty is kind of like one of those popular movies from the 90s that they keep making remakes of, but every time they do, it just gets worse, but people still watch it because the first movie was such a big hit. Unfortunately, it has gotten to the point where they know that they can put out literal slop and people will still play it. And I really hate it when that happens with something because the quality of the product really starts to go downhill. And in the case of Call of Duty being a video game, it's supposed to be considered a form of art because of the people who imagine and design everything in the game. But now it's becoming less of an art form and more of an obvious cash cow. And that's exactly what I want to talk about in the next section of the video. So we all know that AI is becoming a huge part of technology, and video game developers have started to use it to streamline the process of things. But when it comes to Activision, it seems like they're just trying to do anything to cut corners, save costs, and make more money. They have started using AI to produce some of the content in Black Ops 6, and it's blatantly obvious. The community has started to question them on it, but of course, they won't give a response. It's not just affecting the players though, it's also affecting the people who actually worked on the game. Some of the voice actors for zombies were actually told that they could potentially be replaced by AI and they could lose their job. Now, I don't know about you, but the voice actors in the original Zombies games are what made the experience 10 times more enjoyable for me. Hank Dempsey has the most iconic voice in video game history, and who could forget about Nikolai? With AI, you're never going to get that same level of emotion and authenticity that you would from a real human. For some people, this might be a very small thing to them, but for someone who actually cares about the game being a true form of art, the last thing I want to be playing is low-effort content generated by AI. Many people believe that the calling cards in the store bundles are also made by AI because they are completely different to what we've gotten before in the past. Some of the calling cards just straight up don't make sense, and some of the items in the store don't work properly at all. It's like they weren't even tested by a real human. Look, I get that using AI can be good and make things more efficient, but god damn it, you have to utilize it in the right way. If you're gonna use it, don't make it so damn obvious and then be silent about it when people start to ask questions. I also thoroughly believe that no one should lose their job to AI, especially on something like a video game that, like I said, is supposed to be art. The fact of the matter is that if Activision keeps going down this path and we let them get away with it, pretty soon every game from them will be an AI-generated pile of slop that has no authenticity or true human emotion put into it. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a AAA game to me. While we're on the topic of AI being used in the game, I want to talk about something else that has been going on since last year in Modern Warfare 3. During that game's lifecycle, the player numbers were not very good, so it was suspected that Activision was filling up multiplayer lobbies with AI bots to stop matches from ending early and keep their player numbers up. There was a whole bunch of speculation on whether or not it was true, and I didn't really believe it myself until it happened to me. Before I quit playing the game, I would only play Search and Destroy. That was my game mode of choice. And one night while I was casually playing, I unexpectedly got into one of these lobbies that was full of what appeared to be AI bots. So the footage you're seeing on screen right now is actually my own gameplay. I'm Toxic Shooter in this game, and you can clearly see that 5 out of the 6 players on each team are all AI bots. I sent this footage over to Blame Truth, and he is another channel that has been making videos calling out Activision on their lies for a very long time. He made his own video on it, and even he couldn't come up with a full explanation.
So this entire raw gameplay of these bots was sent to me by someone on Twitter, and this isn't like the camo bot lobbies that people are accidentally getting into. I think those happen in less populated game modes. I think those happen in respawn game modes. I'm not sure what this is because this is Search and Destroy. This is what makes this very, very strange. This is Search and Destroy. There appear to be 4 real players in the lobby, 4 actual real players, and there are bots on both this guy's team and the enemy team. It doesn't make sense. I got some feedback on Twitter like, what could this be? I don't see how this is like a camo bot lobby. This doesn't make sense. And someone said this, and I don't know, I had to question it after he said it, but I said, I could see no reason why these would be in a Search and Destroy lobby mixed in with various players. The camo bot lobbies that people accidentally get into, I understand, as it's a respawn mode and you can farm, but not this. And this guy says, people are using AFK consoles for trick shot lobbies in S&D. And I respond, of course, with this community is legitimately pathetic. But then I thought about it for a second and I'm like, wait, why do they have obvious bot names then? Assuming this is for a montage or whatever. This guy says, yeah, I can't explain what's going on in the above video, to be honest. Strange. So I think we can rule out that possibility. Also, the maker of this video said that he was not reverse boosting. He said he was just playing normally for the past 2 hours, searching for Search and Destroy games. And then he got this lobby. Why? I don't know. What's being accomplished with these bots in this lobby? I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that these bots are being used to reverse boost somehow, like in join session, but it wouldn't make sense why there's so many. Also, again, you would not do this in Search and Destroy. Sir, I just don't get it. Maybe they're gonna edit out the names in their trick shot TikTok montage and change them to like Optic Scump or something. I truthfully don't know.
Some people said that it could be people using AFK scripts on Acronis to run boosting lobbies, but why would they do it in Search and Destroy? If you're gonna run a boosting lobby, you would do it in a respawn mode like Domination. Another explanation could be people using AFK scripts to get easy trick shots on bots for montages, but the person on the enemy team who wasn't a bot was not trick shotting. And you'll see on the leaderboard that all of their names were bot 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And like I said, the one person on the enemy team who wasn't a bot was not trickshotting. So with that being said, really the only valid explanation is that these were in fact AI bots that were put into the game by Activision. And I think this is when they were first testing it out, so they hadn't worked out all the kinks yet. Something got messed up and too many bots got put into one lobby, and I just happened to be in that lobby. But now, with Black Ops 6, they've got some of the bugs worked out, and there's actually been reports showing up across the internet of people saying that when they boot their game up, their character is already in a game or had been kicked for inactivity, even though they had just booted up their game, which has led people to believe that Activision is actually using the accounts of real players as bots to fill lobbies when they aren't actually playing. This also inflates the player numbers of the game and makes it look like there's more people playing when there actually isn't. I know this is a very bold claim, but there's actually more evidence to support it. People in the community have just discovered that Call of Duty does not fully close the game when you quit the desktop on PC. If you open your task manager after you close the game, you will still see Call of Duty processes running in the background, and unless you force quit them, the game will stay running and Steam will count you as a player playing the game even though you aren't actually sitting at your desk. Pretty insane, right? And this isn't just happening on PC. People have noticed it on consoles as well. Blame Truth actually made a whole video on it, and I highly recommend you go and check it out. He does a very good job of showing all the evidence and explaining what's going on. But if this is actually true, and Activision is using people's accounts when they're not actually playing the game, they are committing fraud. By lying to shareholders and saying that there are more people on the game than there actually is, well, that's a form of stock manipulation, and it could potentially get Activision into a lot of trouble if it was ever found out to be true. But if there's one thing they're good at, it's dodging lawsuits and ignoring questions, so I would be very surprised if they actually got caught for this. But the fact that it's possibly happening is absolutely disgusting. Okay, so I kind of want to circle back to what I said in the first section of the video. One of the main reasons why I think this game has been on a constant decline over the last few years is because all the developers who actually cared about the game from the beginning are no longer there. Jason West, Vince Zampella, and Jason Blundell no longer have anything to do with Call of Duty, and that on its own is a huge contributor to the issues. These guys actually cared about the game. It wasn't just a job for them, it was a passion. And that's one thing that the game is heavily lacking now. Passion. Jason Blundell created one of the greatest storylines in gaming history with zombies, and Jason West and Vince Zampella were probably so angry that they got their game stolen from them, they no longer cared whether or not it did well. And the developers that work there now, well, some of them might have the same level of dedication that the other ones did, they aren't high enough on the totem pole to oversee any final decisions. I think that whoever it is at Activision that's pulling all the strings and making the final decisions on things is completely lost. And don't just take it from me, the proof is in the numbers. Now, the whole reason I'm making this video is not because I think it's cool to shit on Call of Duty or the fact that I want the game to die. It's actually the complete opposite of that. I grew up playing this game, and it will always hold a special place in my heart. The only thing I want is for it to stop being mistreated. I want to raise awareness for these problems that are going on and try to make people realize that what's going on is not okay. As fans, we have been walked on by Activision for the better part of 5 years, and people are finally getting fed up with it. The numbers speak for themselves, and one very key thing that I want to mention here is that we used to be able to see player numbers at any given time on the older Call of Duties. But ever since Vanguard and because of the colossal failure that game was, Activision has hidden player counts since the release of that game. So the only real numbers that we can actually see as reliable data are the charts on Steam. And let's just say that things haven't been looking too great over there. Just in December alone, Call of Duty has lost over 50% of their players. Historically, that has never happened with Call of Duty ever before. In fact, December is usually the month when they get a huge surge in players because everyone gets the game for Christmas. But not this year. When Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 came out, they changed a lot of things, including slowing down the movement substantially. People hated it. The game lost a record number of players and was considered a massive failure by shareholders. If you compare that data to Black Ops 6, it's actually worse this year than it was in 2022. At this point, the game is on track to lose almost 100% of players on Steam by March. that's not good. And I know what some people are going to say, PC players only make up a small number of the player base, most are on console. And while that used to be true, it's really no longer the case. Bobby Kotick actually confirmed himself that most of Call of Duty's players are now on PC. And despite all the lies that Activision tells, I can definitely see this one being true. There was a massive surge of custom PC building during COVID, and it absolutely skyrocketed in popularity. So it's no surprise that most people have switched over from console. That being said, we can safely assume that if Steam has lost that many players, it's most likely relatively the same on console. And if that's the case, with all platforms combined, the game could be struggling to maintain over 1 million players right now. And for Call of Duty, that's horrible. Think about it. The game has been around for over 20 years and embedded itself so deep in the gaming community that almost everyone who's played video games has heard of it at least once. But they can't maintain over 1 million players? Fortnite has been around for way less time than Call of Duty, and they consistently break over 5 million players at peak times. How do you explain that? Well, it's because Fortnite actually makes a good game and they care about their players. Like I said, I started on Black Ops 1, and sometimes I remember going on that game and seeing 1.5 million people playing. That was 15 years ago when people would only play on console. Now they're losing 50% of their players in a single month? Something is clearly wrong, and you're delusional if you don't think so. I get that some people simply just don't care and they're gonna buy the game regardless of skill-based matchmaking, hackers, and AI content or whatever else, but I think those players are a huge part of the problem. The thing with Activision is, if we give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Just like if thousands of people still buy the game despite the massive number of obvious problems, Activision will simply think that they can just get away with anything and they can sell us literal shit, and we'll just buy it because it has the name Call of Duty on it. As a community, we have to start fighting back, because if we don't, like I said before, in just a few years' time, every Call of Duty game will be an AI-generated pile of shit with no human emotion put into it whatsoever, an anti-cheat that doesn't work, and more bugs than you can imagine. I don't want that to happen, and if you are a true fan of this franchise, you should be in the same boat. We are the ones in control here, not the trillion-dollar company. If our voices in the community can get loud enough and the game continues to lose players, Activision will have no choice but to make drastic changes to the game or kill it off completely, which I don't see that happening because it's their biggest cash cow. So let's make our voices heard and give this company a f***ing wake-up call. This is definitely just the tip of the iceberg, and I could have touched on a lot more in this video. But if you enjoyed it, I highly recommend you go and check out Nero Cinema and Blame Truth's channels. Those guys do an excellent job of bringing these issues to light. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to argue with your friends who think Black Ops 6 is the greatest COD ever, because it's not. And if we can start changing the minds of other people who think it's okay to get taken advantage of, maybe we can make a change. Let's be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem.